South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book. Sports by the book, South Point Studio.
We don't make stuff up here.
I would only play the Pirates team total going under.
What the hell happened to Minnesota's pitching? This total has really crashed without plumbing the lineup.
I think this number's too high, but they're laying me the 6.
Oh, I know.
Caitlin Clark drives handle on the WNBA.
Never mind all these Mickey Mouse other stations. We are giving you hands-on information.
It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles and Alex White.
Thursday morning here on Sports by the Book. It's the final day of no baseball games that count to talk about here on the show. We got a lot of baseball, though, coming your way as we take a look at the second half ahead here on the show. I'm Jeff Parles. She's Alex White. Alex, we got a good one for everybody today.
Yes, we do. Ready to break down second half of the MLB. It's been a really good season. That first half, a lot of fun. A lot of bets were made, and I am excited to finish off and go day by day through the rest of the season until we get to the World Series.
Danny Burke will be with us 25 minutes from now. We'll get his macro thoughts if there's anything he wants to bet in the futures market across the board. But we will begin in the American League here today, Alex. We'll start with what has been the lesser of the two leagues so far this year. And let's go to division standings, and then we'll show you the wild card standings first, and then we'll go division by division and such from there. So here's what we got right now entering the second half division by division. Your 3 division leaders going from left to right on your screen. The Astros out west have a 5-game lead on Seattle, 8.5 on Texas. The Tigers are running away and hiding. There's not even odds at the Superbook right now in the American League Central. 11.5 games clear of Minnesota. No one else is over 500 in that division. And then the big hot streak leading into the break for Toronto. They have a 2-game lead over the Yankees and 3 over the red-hot Red Sox, who had a 10-game winning streak going into the break as well to get back into not only the American League race, but the number 2 wild card slot in the American League.
Very interesting here, especially looking at the West and the East, because how many teams are going to get in with the wild card spots? If you look at the Central, I mean, that's where you really have to start. Do you believe in any of these teams making a run, whether it is the Twins, the Royals, who have struggled this year, but we know they do have the talent, the Guardians sitting right there. So kind of when you're looking and you're making your playoff predictions, looking for teams to bet if they will make the playoffs, getting a plus price on any of these teams, I mean, you kind of start there, right, with the Central. Do you think they can get 2 teams in?
So we look at the wild card standings as a whole in a second, just to tell you where everybody is sitting right now. Again, Detroit, the 1 seed, Houston at 2, as we know in this new format. Important to be 1 or 2.
Right.
You don't have to play that extra best of 3. Toronto currently holds the 3 seed, only 1 game behind Houston, though. So it is tight. It is going to be a legitimate race for seeding. Houston only 2.5 behind Detroit after they got swept by Seattle going into the break. So compact. There is a real race for 1, 2, and 3, and you even have the Yankees and the Red Sox not far off the pace as well. Yankees would play Boston. Boy, that would be something else if we got that in a 4-5 wild card matchup. And then Seattle, a game and a half clear of Tampa. Tampa's really come back to earth after their big run through the middle of June into the beginning of July, but really came back over the last 10 days. Tampa 1.5 behind, Texas 3.5 behind, and then whole collection of under 500s in this league after Tampa. Only 7 teams over 500 in the American League, which is a far cry from what it is on the other side of the dish in the NL, Alex.
A lot of question marks there with those wild card spots. Does Boston continue their hot streak after coming back from the break? Tampa Bay, that is a team we definitely have to talk about. We've been talking about how they were very home heavy to start the season. Only 44 road games for them so far. Now it's going to switch. So got to put that into your handicap if you think that will affect them moving forward in the second half. And maybe they fall out and aren't really in the race for that wild card spot. But going to be a lot of fun. It's tough to go against those 3, I believe, that are holding the divisions. Well, with the Yankees right there, I guess that is the toughest one to pick the division for the East.
So let's start in that American League East actually as a whole. Just look at some divisional odds here. And I'll just throw this out there. And run differential does mean something, but it's not the end-all, be-all. Again, we see teams with negative run differentials make the playoffs. We see teams with plus 85-ish sometimes miss the postseason. But I really do believe that the Yankees are going to end up winning the American League East. This was just what we saw a year ago, a bad stretch that actually was not quite as elongated. Again, they go 4-2 the final week before the All-Star break, sweeping Seattle. They did lose 2 out of 3 to the Cubs, but still think the Yankees deserve to be the betting favorite like they are over at the Superbook right now. They're plus 110, 2 games behind Toronto, who's plus 160. Boston, 5-1, 3 games back. Tampa, 15-1, 5.5 back. Here are the run differentials, and then the Baltimore's 300-1. We're very close to not having to think about the Orioles anymore, which makes me very pleased with how big of a disappointment they've been this year. Run differentials in this division, Alex. Again, not the end-all, be-all. Yankees are plus 111. Tampa and Boston are both plus 61. And then you have the Blue Jays sitting there in first place at only a plus 17, which tells me Toronto has been awfully lucky, even in this hot stretch, where Toronto was winning a lot of one-run games in this run that has put them into first place. Now, the good thing for Toronto, at least from making the playoff perspective, is there could be a whole sell-off in the American League. Even Texas, who's currently technically the second team out of the postseason behind Tampa, they could even sell. Whole AL Central could end up selling. This could end up really being a true 7 teams for 6 spots race, which then gives Toronto a big advantage because of their 5.5 games clear right now of Tampa. But if we're just looking as a division as a whole, Alex, I would take the Yankees plus price. It could be gone pretty quickly after the second half begins. They're just the best team. And again, that run differential. I mean, the Yankees are almost 100 runs better in the run differential. That is a large number. And usually that comes back to earth over a 162 game sample.
Pretty impressive because when you look at the Toronto Blue Jays pitching staff, it's not overly great or names that you would think of. I mean, Kevin Gausman, Scherzer, depending on which Scherzer you're getting, Chris Bassett, Barrios, which is a little bit up and down. You never really know. So pretty impressive for them to squeak out these wins in such low scoring games. I do think that they will be buyers and they'll try to hang around here. I'm with you though. I did pick New York to ultimately win that division. I don't love it at that price though. I'm going to be honest. I don't think you're getting a whole lot of value there. Even though you're getting plus money, I just think there's too many tangibles that you don't really know that Boston doesn't have a set they're going to win this, right? I think both of their schedules are pretty equal moving forward. So I didn't find anything really in this one. The only bet I could try and look for is to fade Tampa Bay with what I said and them having more road games. Looking more, of course, at their win total than anything. So nothing for me division-wise here.
So Boston has the third hardest schedule in baseball remaining. They're the hardest schedule in the American League remaining. I just have this thought in my head where Chris Sale has an option for next year left on his contract, but he's technically done after this year. Atlanta will get to. They're basically done in the National League East, unless if they do what they did in 2022 and play 800 ball over a 2.5 month stretch, which they got enough talent on the roster. They could. It just hasn't happened. I expect the Red Sox, especially after the Devers trade, where the locker room seems to be a lot more positive. They're on this big winning streak. I expect the Red Sox to buy. I expect them to be arguably the most aggressive team at the deadline. Why not trade for Chris Sale? Try to get him back after trading him to Atlanta with a Cy Young stop in between. See what else in the American League is available. See what else in the NL is available. There's going to be teams that fall out of this over the next 10 days in the National League as well. The Cincinnati try to trade a Brady Singer potentially. Do the Cardinals fall out of it? Do you want to try to pick up one of those veterans from St. Louis? There are going to be opportunities for Boston to trade for. To me, what they need most is front-end starting pitching.
Yeah.
That's what the angle that I would look at for them. But again, I don't think they're going to have enough to win the division, but to make the postseason, maybe even get that 4 seed, very much in play, even with that difficult schedule for the Red Sox.
I'm sure right now you're probably getting a plus price with Boston to make the playoffs, right?
I am going to double check that. Right now, I believe you are laying a price with everyone in the AL that is currently in with those 6 teams.
Okay.
Just because, again, it's a tough go of it. You're laying 115, so it is a yes, no, minus 115 at DK on the yes, minus 105 on the no for the Red Sox. So that's, I don't mind that right now, even though there is another one that we'll get to that I think is priced wrong on the AL side in a moment. Tampa, by the way, just so everyone is aware, is not even available right now on the yes-no market. If you just want the yes market, they're plus 160.
I don't hate that. I would almost just wait a little bit. I don't know where Boston to kick off this tough schedule that they have coming up. I'm pulling that up right now too. So they are going against Chicago, then Philadelphia, go host the Dodgers, then go to Minnesota. So maybe wait a little bit if you really feel strongly that they will be buyers and could get even a plus price for them to make the playoffs. I will say I don't hate that at all because I do like their pitchers and kind of just starting there with Crochet, and then Bayo's been very good as of late. So They probably do want to add another guy there. If they add anybody hitting wise, I probably will jump off because they seem very fragile in their continuity with them at the plate. So what they're doing right now is working. I wouldn't want to mix it up too much on the offensive side, but pitching definitely.
Going to the AL Central, we can be quick in this division. There's no divisional odds available right now at the Superbook just because the Tigers have run away and hid in this division. If you want to bet it, they're minus 3,000 over at DK and other books. Their lead is gigantic. I don't like any of these teams in this division to make a run. If I was Kansas City, I would sell. If I was Minnesota, I would consider selling. Cleveland, I'd even consider selling Quan Class A. I would consider the whole ball of wax at this point, especially if some National League team wants to give me a big package back for a high-end closer and an all-star outfielder. Detroit's going to win a division. It's just a matter of will they get the 1 seed? I believe they will when it's all said and done. I still trust their pitching, even with, again, a horrible series to end the first half against Seattle. It happens. Again, only one team has not been swept this year. That's only Cincinnati. Somehow got into the break without being swept. But if I'm Kansas City, I'm trying to trade Seth Lugo. I'm trying to trade Michael Wacha. I'm trying to trade those veterans, Michael Lorenzen, if he's able to come back off the IL before the deadline. I'm trying to trade all my veteran pitchers if I'm Kansas City or whatever for Minnesota and Cleveland. Chicago doesn't have much like, but this is Detroit. And I don't think any of these teams are capable of making a run on the AL Central side to make a wild card.
I'm with you. Picking the 6 for the playoffs in the American League. I only had one from this division, and that is the Tigers. You talking about run differential. I mean, Tigers are plus 87, and everybody else has a negative number. Their Twins -8, Royals -28, Guardians -45, and White Sox -98. So nothing for me in that one. We've seen spurts where they've looked like they were pulling it together with those three in the middle there, but I don't have a whole lot of faith, especially Cleveland. I mean, they've just been struggling at the plate all year.
AL West up next. It's Houston's division. Again, we didn't expect a ton out of the Astros going into the year. I like Texas before the season. Rangers have been a huge disappointment. Astros with a comfortable lead in the AL West. Right now, 5 clear Seattle. They're $6 favorites at the Superbook right now. You can get better numbers out there. They're -370 at DK. So again, shop around if you want to take a favorite or anything along those lines. Texas, boy, I wish the Rangers had anything left in the tank. I just don't think they do, even with getting all their pitching back in order with Evaldi back fully now. Seattle right now at DK, and this is the one I want to fade, Alex, because I still don't trust their offense. Now, they might catch a break with what you said, huge road home split towards road games for Tampa because of how they front-loaded the home schedule. But, boy, I don't trust this Mariner team at all. Now, going into the break with good vibes with that 3-game sweep actually may have helped us in getting a better number to miss the postseason. Plus 160 at DK right now on the Mariners. That would be the flyer I'd be willing to take on to miss the postseason. Now, for Seattle, it's realistically speaking, it's Seattle against Tampa and Boston. 2 of those 3 teams, more likely than not, will make the postseason. One of them will be on the outside looking in. The Mariners have shown a history of making small, negligible moves at the deadline. Tampa, we know, same sort of deal. Boston, again, I think will make a big splash if it's possible. I just don't trust this offense, even though they have, again, on paper, they have the best starting pitching of those 3 teams. Their bullpen, if Munoz can figure out what was going on with the tipping of the pitches. High-end bullpen as well, especially at the end. But I will take a shot on Seattle here to miss the postseason, even though, again, would love to get $2. Plus 160 is a fair price to me to miss the postseason on Seattle.
I don't hate it. I don't have Seattle locked in. I mean, I did pick them as one of my 6, but it was more I like 3 of these teams to actually make it into the postseason. So I took a flyer the other way. I do trust the Rangers to turn it around here. I got plus 330 for them to make the playoffs. I think they can go on a run here. I like what I saw from them in the last month, and I like their pitching staff, and that goes with this entire division. I think they are some of the strongest. I mean, DeGrom, he's like the 3rd favorite now to win the AL Cy Young. He has just been on fire in his last 8 starts. And then we've been talking about Nathan Eovaldi all year long. And Jack Leiter's been pretty good to be that 3rd guy. So I do like the Rangers, especially with their bats on fire as of late. I think the Mariners can hang in there. I really do, but not a strong take on that. I'm a little bit worried about an all-star break hangover, to be honest. What happens next with Cal Raleigh, and do pitchers stop throwing to him when he is a major part of that lineup and has been really helping them get to where they are right now? So, I have Houston winning because they do have a nice, easy schedule. I believe they have the 2nd easiest schedule moving forward. And then I have both of those 2 sneaking into the playoffs. Super
interesting on that with the fact that Texas, again, we'll see. They have it in there. By the way, the Angels are still only a half game behind Texas, amazingly enough, as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I liked Texas when they were the 4 seed, and I thought I'm going to sound pretty crazy saying that, even jumping the Angels. So now they've done just enough to be sitting here behind the Mariners, but it'll be interesting. I just think, too, with looking at Texas, who they have played, I mean, if you look into their schedule, they split with the Tigers so far this year. Last series was 2-1. They've split with the Houston Astros. They have 6 more games against them. So I think they can do just enough with their tough series. And then they got to take advantage of the Athletics, the Braves, the Marlins, Cleveland, Kansas City, and the Diamondbacks.
Before we get our 6 playoff teams, odds to win the AL pennant right now. Yankees are still the betting favorite here at the South Point. I understand there is definitely got to be some liability things. We'll have Chris Andrews in hopefully tomorrow, so we'll have a lot of questions for Chris. We haven't seen Chris in a few weeks after his return from Big Sky Country. earlier this week. I think Detroit should be the betting favorite. I really do at this point. They're more likely than not going to have the postseason through Comerica Park with that starting rotation. But again, that would be the only one I would bet right now would be the Tigers. It's too short on Houston. It's definitely too short on the Yankees. And I don't trust anyone else that's further down. Based off what you're saying, maybe take a flyer and a small pizza money bet on Texas. If you think Texas can at least make the postseason. A DeGrom, Evaldi, Leiter, 1, 2, 3 is a pretty darn good rotation for a postseason scenario, Alex.
I don't hate it at all. I really don't. I mean, the only thing that makes me nervous is the Astros, the Tigers, and the Yankees, right there. Those three that are winning the division. I do think that they are a step above the others that sneak into the playoffs here. But I didn't jump in on the Tigers for the AL. I just have a small ticket on them to win the World Series at 15-1 when Ann and my dad was here. We all kind of said, squad ride with the Tigers, but I wish I would have just taken it for the AL here. But I don't hate it. If you're getting plus money, I think this Tigers team can do it.
Alex, we move over to the National League side. Or actually, we don't move to the NL side first. Let's give our 6 playoff teams first in the American League. I'll go first real quick here, Alex. So I told you I'm fading Seattle. Like I'm going to get something down on Seattle to miss the postseason. So I have 4 American League East teams in there. I don't love any of these teams, but I got Detroit and Houston holding on to the top 2 seeds. Yankees play Tampa. Yankees win the East 3 seed. Tampa's the 6. Toronto gets the 4. They play Boston in the 5 seed. Again, if I'm picking today, I'm picking the Tigers to come out of the American League to represent, and 1 seed gets through after beating 2 American League East teams back to back. Actually, I have Houston going down to the Yankees and Toronto beating Boston and falling to Detroit, and then Detroit beating the Yankees in the ALCS. That's what I have at this current moment. Of course, subject to change when we get to October.
Pretty funny. I bet you our NL will be a lot closer than our AL, but we are
I'm not so sure about that.
Okay.
We'll see.
Kind of opposite here for the American League, though. Our 1, 2, and 3 are the same. I do have the Tigers ultimately getting that 1 seed, Houston 2, New York finding a way to win the AL East, and then I have Seattle at 4. I have Toronto doing just enough to hang around, and Texas sneaking in at 6. So it would be a Yankees-Rangers first round and a Blue Jays Mariners. I didn't go any farther than that because I am very stuck on those 1 and 2s right there. I think the Astros and their pedigree and their experience, I hope it's down to those 2. That'll be a fun series with the former manager now with the Tigers. So I guess I'll go with the Tigers ultimately winning.
So we're both on Detroit, at least at the current moment, to represent the AL. All right, we'll swap over to the NL side of things right now, Alex. And we will begin in the National League East, which I am fully anticipating will be, or actually, we'll show the whole standings here first, because there are 2 divisions that are within a game entering the second half. Milwaukee's closed within 1 on Chicago. A hot run yet again into the break for the Brewers. Mets and Phillies, of course, said this is only going to toggle probably about 25 more times. It toggled the day before the All-Star break again. Mets retook the lead. Phillies took it back. Heading into the break, a half-game lead for Philadelphia. And then the Padres and Giants have at least caught into the Dodger lead. Dodgers did not play well, but did take the final 2 before the break against the Giants. So that could have been down to 2 if the Giants have won those last 2 games, and it could have really been truly interesting out west. Again, the Dodgers are still a monster favorite to win the NL West yet again here in the NL. But Alex, we'll just start on the East side of things, and then we'll show the wild card standings as we go through here. But this is, to me, in the NL East, this is the race that is most likely to come down to the final weekend of the year, because these 2 teams, to me, are incredibly even. And the Mets are getting healthier with their rotation. They got Sean Manaea back in the final game before the break. Through 3 1/3 really good innings out of the pen. He'll be fully back in the rotation this weekend. Kodai Senga has returned as well. Pitched 4 shutout in Kansas City in his first start back. The rest of this division is irrelevant. Atlanta's done. I really do believe that. They're too far back. They should sell. And again, if they get the right package for sale, they should trade them. Miami's not a threat. Washington is built for 2028 at this rate. Alex, this race goes back and forth at least another 15 times. And I'm going to take a plus price on the Mets because of it. Again, they haven't had Sean Manaea at all this year except for 4 innings. Kodai Senga in a bad month didn't pitch. When Senga's been healthy, and now the Manaea is coming back, the Mets have been the better team than Philadelphia when they've had their ace healthy. Now Senga's healthy. Now the number 2's back. Advantage Mets in my book, even with a more difficult schedule down the stretch. I do like New York at a plus price. And you know what? If Philadelphia was a plus price right now, I'd probably be saying take the plus price on Philly as well. Just think when it's dead even like this, I like the Mets at a plus price.
I can't blame you there. You did say one thing, though, with a slightly harder schedule, and that is where I didn't make any bets on this division. I do have a future bet, though, on one of these teams. And that's where it kind of comes down to. I think Philly has a slightly easier schedule. I think they can start getting some things together, kind of opposite of the Mariners. I think the Schwarber helping the NL win, I think maybe that could kickstart this Phillies team. We have not seen this lineup, I really don't think, once this year. They've gone on a few winning streaks, but we have not seen what this lineup can do. I absolutely love their pitchers. We've been talking about Wheeler being the best pitcher in the NL all year. He is a slight favorite now over Paul Skeens to win the Cy Young. And then you got Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, and Jesus Luzardo. I think that all of them will be great. I am curious to see what we get from the Mets when they do have their pitchers back. But right now, I think with the Phillies still having so much in the tank at the plate, I think it is going to be their division.
Again, minus 170 on Philadelphia, plus 120 on the Mets side of things. Let's go to the Central, which, again, out of nowhere, just completely tightened. 1-game lead for the Cubs entering the second half, and the odds don't show us a 1-game lead. The Cubs are minus 350 at Superbook, plus 260 on Milwaukee. By the way, Cardinals and Reds are still very much in the race for a wild card slot. Cardinals are 6.5 behind Milwaukee, behind Chicago right now. Reds are 7.5 back. Just subtract the game for what they are with the Brewers. Cardinals are only 1.5 behind San Diego for the final wild card spot, and 2.5 for the Reds. They're alive. They are in this thing. But when push comes to shove here, Alex, and I am a little bit concerned about if the Cubs don't make a deal to help out the pitching. The lineup, there's no issue. We know how good the lineup is. They don't have to do anything on that. If they want to add some bench pieces, fine. But I don't trust Matthew Boyd to be this version of Matthew Boyd all year long. Imanaga has dealt with injury this year as well. And it is a shaky bullpen, at least when we get into big-time crunch situations. The Cubs need to be active to improve their pitching, both starters and bullpen. If they don't do that, that opens the door for the Brewers. We know the Brewers are going to be mostly quiet other than some small moves, just knowing what their payroll structure is. But in the end, the Cubs are the better team. The Cubs win this division. But Milwaukee ends up getting in the postseason as well for me.
So typically I'd be looking at some of those big plus prices, especially with just a 1-game lead and trying to make a case for Milwaukee. But looking at their schedules, I mean, the Cubs have the 3rd easiest schedule coming up. So they might have just ran into the tough part of the first half. And that is where they fell off a little bit. I think they're going to take advantage of their easy schedule coming up. And then the Brewers on the other side, the 5th toughest. So they may fall off a little bit. And, we really saw them come on late. So I do like the Cubs to win this. There's no bets for me in here. The only one I am considering is actually an even money bet right now on the Cubs to get a first round bye. That means they would have to be the 1 or 2 seed, as we just talked about with the AL. I think they can do it. I think with their easier schedule, talk about a run differential. They have been so good this entire year, plus 119 on the season. I think they can keep it going, and I have no doubt that they are going to be buyers. How do you trade and get Kyle Tucker and then just sit here when you have the 1 seed in your division?
Oh, it's the pitching. They need to improve. If this is a championship ball club, their pitching needs to be improved at the deadline. Look, it's one thing to make the postseason. It's one thing to go to a National League where if let's say they don't get a 2 seed, let's say they get the 3. They might have to go some scenario like San Diego, Philly, or the Mets, Dodgers. Oh, and then by the way, you'll have to play Detroit in the World Series if you get there. You got to have better depth than they do in the pitching wise. And of the division leaders currently, it is the most important for the Cubs to get the bye and get the 2 or the 1 seed, at least in my eyes. The NL West. So this is more of a wild card thing more so than anything out west, Alex.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are going to win the NL West. They just had an awful stretch and they still are 5.5 games clear of San Diego. They're going to win the West again. Really the big question more so than anything. Oh, by the way, the odds tell you that they're minus 3,300 to win the division. The big question for me comes down to there's 2 big questions in this division. One of them actually has to do with Arizona, who I don't think realistically has a shot to make the postseason at this point. The pieces that Diamondbacks move could really dictate what happens this postseason. Eugenio Suarez, who, again, very lucky not to have broken his hand with that hit by pitch in the All-Star game, might be the most impressive bat available at the break. Zach Gallen, whose contract is up after the year, who has had a very down year, but is going to be a sought-after piece at the deadline. Arizona is going to play a role in the postseason, even if they're not there with what happens at the deadline. And I just am curious to see what they move. And then for the actual playoff scenario here with the current teams in this, Alex, it comes down to, hey, are you a Team Giants or are you a Team Padres place?
Agreed.
And currently I favor San Diego because I think their pitching depth is better, but this thing is about as even as you can get between these 2 teams right now.
And I actually favor the Giants. I still have
No problem with that.
a thought that they're going to really click with Devers there in the lineup. I think they might still, probably not a huge splash because they already did their big trade, but I think they might still make some moves. And I like their starting pitching rotation. They got Logan Webb. Robbie Ray's been awesome. If Verlander can do enough, and Birdsong and Landon Roop, they kind of switch off, but one of them's got to really step up here to finish the season and in the playoffs. But I do like the Giants. I think that they can make a push here. I just don't trust San Diego. If Michael King was healthy, I would say, yes, go for it. But they don't have a true number 1 between Dylan Cease and Pivetta. Now, of course, they did get you Darvish back, so we'll see how he does down the stretch too. But I've been saying it all year. They're just so top heavy. I don't trust the end of their lineup to really help it. I guess you could say the same about the Giants, but I do like their pitchers just a little bit more. It very easily, there are 2 races in the National League that I genuinely think, like I said, the NL East, I expect to come down to the final week, maybe even the final weekend. Padres and Giants to end the year, that race very easily could come down to game 162. And again, remember, there's no 1-game playoff anymore. It's tiebreakers. And head-to-head will matter here. By the way, Padres end the season with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Giants will end their season this year against the Rockies. So big-time advantage the final weekend. To your point, though, if the Diamondbacks sell and they don't have to see some of their pitchers. They ain't the Rockies, though, as you know, Alex. Both teams at home, by the way, to end the year. But as of right now, just to give you the head-to-head right now for these 2 teams, the Padres and the Giants, San Diego and San Francisco have played 6 games, and the Padres have a 4-2 lead. And they play an odd amount of games. They play 13. Whoever wins the head-to-head just has to be tied at the end. They don't have to be a game ahead. So San Diego with an advantage right now on San Francisco. All right. Now, we should mention there is a chance that, we talked about Milwaukee having a very tough schedule coming up. Yep. They both could sneak in there. Very possible. And that is the thing with the Brewers. The Brewers are very capable. Both of these teams, San Diego, San Francisco, are more than capable of grabbing 2 of the wild cards, Brewers. And you know what? If either the NL East teams falters, they are not far enough ahead that they could fall out as well. Either if the Mets or the Phillies have a bad second half. Yeah. As crazy as it may seem on the surface, one of those 2 teams could end up missing the postseason, especially if San Diego, San Francisco, and Milwaukee, and the Cubs, they add that in. Cubs could even technically miss as well. But again, it's realistically speaking, to me, it is 7 teams for 6 spots, and these 7 teams are significantly more higher end
than what we have in the AL.
I did want to make a case for the Reds. I mean, I really
can't get there, right?
Their pitching has been so good. I just don't trust them offensively, and then they have a very tough schedule second half.
They have the toughest, other than the Rockies in the National League, the second toughest in baseball. All right, Alex, your 6 playoff teams here in the National League.
Okay, I will start with the West there. I do have I'll go in order. I have the Cubs staying hot and actually getting that 1 seed and getting a bye. I have the Phillies with the 2 seed there. I have the Dodgers with the 3. Of course, the Dodgers may just flip that
Dodgers
switch.
With the 3 seed,
But
Alex.
I haven't seen it yet this year, so you just never know. Then I actually have the Giants moving up to the 4, the Brewers, and then I have the Mets coming in at 6. That means right away we will get the Dodgers and the Mets rematch here, and then the Giants and the Brewers. Ultimately, I have the Phillies coming out of the National League, though.
So I told you we were going to be different here, much more in this league than we were in the AL, even though you had Seattle, I didn't. So I have the Dodgers getting the 1 seed. It just, when push comes to shove, they're the best team. They'll find a way to get the 1 seed. I have the Mets winning the National League East and actually getting the 2 seed. The Mets and the Cubs actually play a series the final week of the regular season. It is good. The 2-3 seed, I do believe, will come down to that series, even though it's at Wrigley. I think the Mets actually match up very well with the Cubs. Cubs get the 3. They get home field, but they'll have to go through one agonizing best of 3. Philly plays Milwaukee for a 5 series. Philly's hosted. Brewers get the 5. And then I have the Padres holding off the Giants. Again, there's a great argument for the Giants against either Milwaukee or San Diego in my book. But in the end, I just think they fall short. Padres get the 6. And call me a homer, call me whatever you want to do. I have the Mets in the World Series against the Detroit Tigers when it's all said and done. I actually really believe that the Mets starting pitching, Senga, Manaea, Peterson, 1, 2, 3. If the Dodgers don't get healthy in the rotation, their 1, 2, 3 is as good as anyone in the National Leagues. The Phillies are the only one that would have the better 1, 2, 3, but the Mets have had the Phillies number over the last year plus. So if that matchup were to happen, I do have the Tigers at the current moment winning the World Series, Alex. That is currently my pick, that Detroit will win the World Series. Easier road to get there, and that will help them. And they'll have home field more likely than not as well. All right.
Let's go AL. Are you shocked with that you have an AL team?
I'm not, because I don't see anyone else other than them being able to win it all. Like, if it's not Detroit, the NL team wins. But high-end starting pitching, home field, it's a big advantage. And especially if they're going to have an easier run to the World Series than whoever comes out of the NL, regardless of whatever 6 team it is. All right, let's take a quick break. Danny Burke joins us on the other side. We'll talk some MLB awards. We'll get his thoughts for the second half of the season as well. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Football contest sign-up season is here, and you don't want to miss out on the action. With millions of dollars on the line each and every week in the world's biggest football contest, there's only one proxy to trust, footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have set the gold standard for football contest proxy services with 20 years of experience and over $13 million in winnings for their clients. All you have to do is get to Vegas between now and the start of football season to sign up in person, and they do the rest, making sure your picks are entered every week. Whether you want to play in the Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, Super Contest Gold, or the new Super Contest College Contest, Maddie and Tony have you covered. Their new website has everything you need to know about these football contests and more, including how you can reserve the best proxy in the business. Experience matters, so go with the pros at footballcontest.com, the gold standard proxy service.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. She's Alex White. I'm Jeff Parles. Can't see my hand. My hand disappears because of the boxes. Joining us right now, it's our good friend Danny Burkott, Shopper Stochastic, Masters hat as well for our good friend DB here on a muggy day in Chicago. Danny, good morning. Have you been pulling all night, or were you one of those guys who stayed up all night and watched the Open Championship, or were you just like Alex and I, who just woke up and checked what's going on our phones when we woke up this morning?
There's a moment where I got home. I do some intramural volleyball. So I came home and I'm sitting there watching a show. I was like, should I just wait up and watch this? I went, for the first round, I'm probably just going to go to bed. So I did not do that. Maybe in the days to come, but it is enticing. Great course, obviously final major of the year. So this is the time to do it. But yeah, maybe I'll save that for Saturday, and going into that final round is more so my speed.
Right now, it's a 5-way tie at the top. Lucas Glover and Christian Bezadenhout, we haven't said Bezadenhout's name probably in about 3 years, are still on the course at 4 under. Matthew Fitzpatrick, who Wes Reynolds gave out yesterday, 4 under. Hao Tung Lee, wow, there are a bunch of names I haven't seen in a while as well. Hao Tung Lee is at 4 under, and something named a Jacob Skav Olsen is 4 under as well, the Dane. Right now, Scotty Scheffler, by the way, hit 3 fairways in his 3 under. That's usually not a good sign for everyone else involved, Danny. If Scheffler had that good of a round and was 3 under. By the way, Rory's 3 under. Matt McNeely's 3 under. Harris English is 3 under. The scoring has been good at Royal Portrush because the wind has not been insane, which is a good sign for low scoring at the Open Championship. All right, Danny, let's move over to baseball. Alex and I just went through it. I want to start in the NL because it feels like it's 7 teams for 6 spots right now, DB. It's the 2 in the East, the Phillies and the Mets, the 2 in the Central, the Cubs and the Brew Crew, and then the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants out west. Yes, I understand St. Louis is only a game and a half out of the postseason, but it feels like they're a clip behind those 7 that I meant. Same with the Reds. What do you foresee in this NL playoff race here down the stretch in what is, again, had been the significantly superior league so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, we can start with the Central, obviously the division that I'm most familiar with, being a diehard Cubs fan. And my stance with the Cubs hasn't altered too much from what I've told you before the season and even after this hot spurt that they've had. Look, they have exceeded my expectations in terms of what they've been able to produce offensively, but still there's that key issue of the pitching. Now, the bullpen did do a 180, which was tremendous to see. Will it be sustainable? That's a big question mark here. I mean, the front office management, they can celebrate it as much as they want, but it's still a very long season. And when what hits the fan come postseason time, I don't know if we can fully still trust them. The bigger issue is that starting rotation, right? You didn't really add a huge piece. Oh, granted, Matthew Boyd has been a revelation for this team, and what he's been able to accomplish has been remarkable, But the injuries, especially to Justin Steele, is what's going to hinder them in the long run. So will they make a big splash near the deadline? You would hope so. You would assume so. Most championship contending teams would do that. We know from what we've seen in the past that the Cubs have been hesitant to do so. So until they do that, I still think their ceiling is winning one playoff series, and then that's probably their limitation. Now, I still have full confidence for them to win the division. It's classic, Brewers, Cardinals, where one of those teams is always going to be in the mix, even though we rate them kind of lower. And it is kind of insane to think they're only a game back from the Cubbies based on the first half that it appeared that the Cubs had, compared to what seemed like a pretty monotone result for the Brewers and Cardinals, but they're right there in the hunt, as usually one of them are. So again, I still think the Cubs have the clear advantage. I think Milwaukee is obviously going to be consistently in that wild card hunt till the end. And I do agree with your sentiment where, yes, the Cardinals still are alive for sure, but when it's all said and done, the Brewers have the clear edge, and I think they're going to edge them out. So, yeah, the Cubs and Brewers make a lot of sense there, but still love the Cubbies to come out on top of that division. If at some point the Brewers kind of even it up or get ahead, I would still look at a snag of a price there with the Cubbies, depending on what you can get it at. Obviously, right there at about minus 350 is not worth the price of admission. But if there is going to be a lull and you get it more so toward about minus 130 or better on the Cubs, I think it's worth a conversation. Throughout the rest of the NL, I know you're high on your Mets. I'm still standing strong here with my Philadelphia Phillies pick that I had
Danny.
before the year. Hey, Jeff, and you know what I like even more, and it kind of ties into the Cy Young just a little bit, not entirely, but I like the fact that the Phillies were fired up heading into the All-Star break because they felt that Sanchez and Suarez, but mainly Sanchez, got snubbed. And I thought that was a great betting spot with his last start against the Padres heading into the All-Star break. Granted, it was a little bit of a sweat, but they got there. I think they're going to use that fuel to add to the fire throughout the second half of this season. And I still just really like the roster that they put together. And honestly, they've kind of underperformed a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously being at top of their division is no easy feat, and what they've been able to do is still pretty impressive. But to where I had the bar set for them, I think they've underperformed, and I think they can kick it up a notch here in the second half. So I still think there's value with Philadelphia. I still think they are the team to beat in the NL, especially from what we've seen or lack thereof out of the Dodgers. Yes, it's the Phillies and Dodgers, but the real competition with the Dodgers is Philadelphia, and being in a little bit easier of a division, I think, gives them a leg up as well. So complete confidence still in Philadelphia. Dodgers will be all right. It's kind of nice to see them be, relatively human and go on a losing streak. It kind of gives our teams, Jeff, hopes there in the National League. But I think Alex was saying when I was listening that she kind of liked the Giants a little bit over the Padres. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I would agree with that sentiment. And if I had to pick kind of a longer shot to make some noise, I actually would look in the direction of the Diamondbacks, a team whose offense has been there steadily. It's just their pitching has been pretty disastrous with some of those key name guys, and Brandon Pfaadt has been one of them. Not that he's a key name guy, but you thought maybe from what we saw in the postseason, he could turn that around and bring that up throughout this season, and that just hasn't been the case. So if he can get that going, maybe they had a piece in that starting rotation. I think the D-backs can make some noise and sneak up for at least making the wild card race a lot more competitive.
It'll be interesting to see what they decide to do. Of course, him and Zach Gallen have been a little up and down for them this year. Curious what you think about this, and I was talking about it with Jeff. Cubs to get a first-round bye is even money. Are you confident, especially if we're talking the Phillies and Mets kind of going back and forth here in that division, you think they can get the 1 or 2 seed in the NL?
You know, the 2 seed is absolutely up for grabs. I don't think they're going to end up with the number 1 seed because, much like teams I was saying with the Phillies have been underperforming, obviously in relative terms, so have the Dodgers, and they're probably going to kick it up a gear as well. And I think they'll be able to lock in that number 1 spot. And I do think that the Phillies are a better team than the Cubs. So at only even money, it's not enticing me too much. I think you can wait here and realistically see the Cubs get on a little bit of a cold spurt, kind of like what I was saying, where you wait for a better price with them in the division. I think if you really like them for that 2 spot, you kind of have that same thought process and wait and see how they come out, see if that offense can persist and what moves they may make, and then look at the price. Because for even money with a Philadelphia team that's better and the Dodgers with the clear advantage right now, don't really think it's worth putting down a bet just for the sake of it.
Danny, just before we send it over to the American League side of things, you just mentioned Arizona, and that caught both of our attentions because in the previous segment, I said Arizona is going to have an impact on the postseason, but it's going to be because of the guys they deal at the deadline, Suarez potentially and Gallen. So I know you just talked about it a little bit, but how far back is too far back here for Arizona to realistically keep everyone and try to actually stay afloat here?
Yeah, I mean, well, taking a look right now, I mean, obviously, 5.5 games back, it's dicey, even at the All-Star break right now. But, it's kind of crazy to think that the Reds have the advantage over them based on these 2 lineups. But I think you probably look at it from, I don't know. I mean, it is tough. You got to get out right away and fire it. And it's going to take right away in those first 2 weeks to see what they're made of and if they're actually going to be having a pull here for the wild card or if they're going to be sellers. I don't know how deep the sellers are going to be. I haven't been ingrained with the rumors swindling around them too much, but I still think they feel like they have a pretty good core, and it's kind of just a one-off potentially from the lack of pitching that they had, and maybe they can still develop some of those guys, and you can get better effort, from the Gown, from the Kelly, those type of guys. And Fa, you're just hoping he could kind of turn it around to some extent, but the offense has been there. It's just the pitching hasn't been there to support it itself, so it's got to be a quick turnaround. And even if they do sell off some of those pitching assets, Jeff, I still think the offense is there enough to kind of, like you said, like to shake things up in terms of hurting teams within their own division and other wild card contenders. So I think on a game-to-game basis, there's still going to be a team to look forward to betting. But yeah, that's why I say, it's my longer shot. It is a very long shot because they have a small window of opportunity to make that run. But based on the talent that they have within their lineup, it's certainly plausible.
Danny, let's go to the American League here. And let's start with the East. We've got 4 teams all right there. Toronto, after going on their win streak, they're now 55-41, 2 games up on the Yankees. And then the Red Sox and Tampa Bay, they're all right there. Any of these teams are you looking to fade, maybe bet their win total under moving forward? And which ones do you think will make it into the playoffs?
Yeah, this Yankees team is fascinating, as we all know, with their volatility that we saw present in the first half of the season. And their starting rotation scares the hell out of me, and it should with their fans as well. It's kind of in the same boat. It's like the Cubs right here. I mean, you have the offensive pieces. That could come alive on any given night, even though they had a little bit more of a struggle throughout a couple weeks span. But what moves are they going to make throughout the deadline? We know that the Yankees aren't shy to do that. It's just a matter of what pieces and how soon. So I still think the Yankees do have a slight edge here. The Red Sox, I think, will fall back down a little bit. They, obviously they dug themselves a hole to begin this year, but then that offense came alive and the pitching was